Welcome to TALRadio of Touch a Life Foundation. You are now going to listen to the 13th episode of Mentor Loop, a career guidance from Roopa Sunku, Chief Evangelist at TAL Career Help. In today's episode, we are going to hear about choosing a perfect career to suit your personality. Here is everything you should know about different kinds of personalities and professions suitable for them.
Hello, everyone. This is Roopa Sunku, Chief Evangelist at Touch a Life Foundation, bringing you another episode of Mentor Loop. Today's topic is about doing a personality test and then attributing to the strengths, weaknesses, career opportunities that you will be able to align with your personality test. So I have found this extremely useful personality test called 16personalities.com. And if you go ahead and run through a myriad of questions on this personality test, it goes ahead and gives you a personality type and then gives you a number of factors in terms of the scale, like mind. This trait determines how we interact with our environment. So it'll tell you whether you're extroverted or introverted. Then the next trait that it looks at is where we direct our mental energy. Are you intuitive or are you observant? And that will give you another scoring. The next one will be the nature. That is, how do you make decisions and cope with emotions? So it gives you a scaling of your questions based on your thinking abilities or your feeling abilities. So do you think with your mind or do you think with your emotions? The next one is tactics. This reflects your approach to working, planning, and decision-making, being judging or prospecting. And the last one it gives you a sense on is identity, whether you're assertive or are you turbulent. So you may wonder how these traits are to be utilized and help you make your career decisions. So your real results will kind of tell you the real world careers or industries or colleges or majors that you probably match and will make a good fit on. Obviously, you need to map and match your personal passions and interests along with those real world careers that you can associate to the personality type. And I'll go through a little bit more details on the different personality types. So there are some specific tasks and activities or projects that you love doing, and you want to avoid some others. You also want to make sure that you're a part of a team that has like minds, but different personalities that can vibe or gel together to solve the tough problems or motivate you or kind of give you that innovation and growth opportunity. My advice for most of you would be to follow anything that would maximize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses overall. Find out which careers will maximize your potential and take advantage of those natural talents or abilities that you have to be able to play to your core values and choose the career that kind of keeps you satisfied and motivated. So there are primarily 4 types of personalities that you will end up being striped within this 16 personality test that I talked about. The first category is analysts. Within the analysts, there are architects who are very imaginative, strategic thinkers with a plan for everything. So somebody with a professional degree would be an architect, both in the technology space or architects to design buildings and structures that could fall into this category. The logicians or the people who are into innovating, bring in unquenchable thirst for knowledge as an analyst as well. Next one would be a commander, bold, imaginative, strong, will-powered leaders, always finding a way or making one, right? So these could be your CEOs, your startup company founders, or your financial business leaders, politicians, could all be in this category. Then you have the debaters who are also part of the analyst overall category. These debaters are very smart and curious thinkers who cannot resist any intellectual challenge. So again, politicians, debaters, lobbyists could all be part of this personality type. Let's go on to the next personality type, which would be the diplomats. And as the word diplomat says, you play more to the strengths of process, activities, strengths, and then people being amicable with your activity. So here you could be an advocate who is very quiet, mystical, yet very inspiring and tireless idealist. So these could be your professional speakers, your coaches, and those folks that can advocate to whatever lens fits your needs. So there are lots of people who are psychologists, people who are social workers, people who are inspirational speakers and presenters could fall into this area. Mediators. So as the word says, mediators will be very poetic, kind and altruistic people, always eager to help a good cause. And they could also be those folks who kind of break a median ground for us to be able to play multiple roles. Change managers, consultants, project managers, and attorneys or lawyers could be of this personality type. Then the other would be a protagonist who's very charismatic and inspiring leader and who will mesmerize the listeners. These could be strategists, could be world peace leaders, it could be World Health Organization heads, anybody with international business being able to bring two parties together for a common end. The last would be the campaigners. These are very enthusiastic, creative, socially spirited, free-spirited people who are always finding a reason to smile. So these are the preppers who will kind of get the crowd moving in the direction that you want, bringing in creative dispositions and approaches to be able to make people come together. So these are all the various careers that diplomats can be able to avail. Okay, next would be the Sentinels. The Sentinels are the logicians who are very practical-minded, reliable, and cannot be doubted because they're really behind those numbers. And these could be data engineers, people who are analysts, the hedge fund owners, and any of those sort of investment banking kind of people who know those numbers, very reliable, and will always play out a practical role for you. The defenders, very dedicated and warm. And so these could be your nurses, your doctors, your teachers who have the ability to defend their loved ones and also help get you further with warmth and protection. The next would be the executives. These are the excellent administrators, the presidents, the CEOs, and founders of different companies or VPs and senior leadership within any corporation. These are people who manage things or people with either strength in them. Consults are those extraordinarily caring social people that are very popular and make it very easy to adapt to change and bring on new processes, new changes. So these could be your change managers, project managers, program managers, and even teachers can fall into this category, or social workers can also fall into this category. The last set of personality types would be the explorers. These, as the word explorer indicates, could be the virtuosos who are very bold, practical, kind of master all kinds of tools. So somebody with even like a mechanical engineering background, or somebody with the building expertise, plumbing, electrical, those sort of tools and working with different apparatuses can definitely fall into this category. Then the adventurer. These could be your charming artists who are very exploring. So So photographers, videographers, editors, music directors, movie makers could all fall into this category. Then you have the entrepreneurs. So you had your commanders in the analyst group. These folks would be more of smart energy with a people perspective, and are going to be those businesses that will actually create a social cause or bringing some enjoyment or an edge to life overall. So the people element is higher on the explorers versus that of the commander in an analyst position. Then you have your entertainers, like I said, very spontaneous, energetic, enthusiastic people, and never a boring moment around them. So these are the 4 personality types. And within that, you have some variations based on task or people orientation. So I'd like you to picture today 4 quadrants with line running in between the 4. One side is the task orientation and the other side is the people orientation. So if you're high on task and low on people, you could be very, very future oriented, innovative, outward looking, deadline, but dealing with unblocking you for progress, very decisive because they're very task oriented and less on thinking about people and the emotions associated with it. Let's just follow the quadrant over to the right side where it's high on people, low on task. Somebody with a high on people skill will be leading by example, driving with vision, people values, recognizing and creating enthusiasm, great communicators. Then let's go down back again to the bottom left, which would be low on task and low on people. So this is like a well-balanced focus on both tasks and people. Here, they're very focused on roles and objectives, rationality, quality and productivity, resources and infrastructure approaches, and then performance improvement. While if you take the last quadrant, which is the bottom right, here it's high on mediocre on people, but higher on people than task. And this would be interest and show concern. Teamwork is something big to them. Delegation, listening and learning, and recognizing and rewarding. So always balance out your personality type to that of your task and people orientation in the setting that you're going into. The other 4-quadrant approach that you can consider while looking for jobs associated to your personality is on the 2 quadrants of importance and urgency. So importance is what is important to you to be able to penetrate into the environment that you're in. Urgency is more about what is the criticality of the issue and how do you manage your time and people and relationships that are around you. And what do you make of this quadrant? So let's take the first quadrant, which is high on urgency and high on importance. And that would be crisis management, pressing problems to be addressed, projects and deadlines would be their sort of strength. Somebody who doesn't take things too urgent in nature, nor too important, but give it fairly good importance on the right-hand quadrant. This is people who build a lot of relationships, they plan, and they are more into recreational activity overall. Let's take the people who don't pay too much attention to importance and also relatively high on urgency. These people are people who create interruptions, who will pick up the phone and address a problem, will send mails to be able to look at things, and also send out reports and be proactive with their approach. Then you have the people who don't think of things very urgent in nature and don't really think about things as important. Here, they create more busy work. They kind of send mails and phone calls with very little detail. And they almost feel like people who have spent a lot of time creating and doing their work. An example that comes to mind on the 4th quadrant, which is non-urgent and non-important, would be a person on my team spends almost 6 hours on a PowerPoint every week that has about 30 odd slides, which is a status for the organization. So that feels like not particularly driven person, which gives importance and urgency to the issue. While if you were to make this an urgent issue, And if you're on the quadrant of both urgency and importance, this becomes like, let's meet that deadline. What can I do to make this seamless and make it repeatable and scalable for each of my tasks? So that would be some of the ways that your personality type played in with task and the people orientation that you have can help you determine the right career to pursue. There is another test called the Myers-Briggs, which people have also used and find it very useful because they kind of pretty much take some of these personality types and give you some attribution of what are the types of everyday life activity that you have as a strength, or how do you use your strengths and weaknesses in a professional setting. So check it out and look at what you think would be useful. So start with your personality. That gives you an opportunity to be able to build into the careers. Now, you would probably ask me if you can choose from and move from one career to the other. Absolutely. There are two reasons why you would look at kind of shifting your careers is, like I said, there is the commander in the analyst, while there is also the entrepreneur in the explorer personality. Now, these have very similar looking positions, but one is more people oriented and enjoys it and becomes an entrepreneur, starts up a business, invests in it from a point of initiating a new process. A commander was probably somebody who would already take an existing group and work through it and make them perform like superbly well as a commander. So there could be a lift and shift between personality types and the organizational structures or the environment details that help you determine which of your strengths and which of your passions around the personality attachments will actually make you choose and develop a job. And the last thing I'd like to kind of leave you with is it's always interesting to kind of look at personalities around you and see who has been successful in what personality traits have they utilized in their jobs to become successful, and utilize those examples to be an opportunity for you to consider and also role model or shadow in those roles to be able to see if that's a fit for you and that's of interest to you. I hope you found this useful. Thank you for listening to me, and please do join us at touchalife.org/career help if you wish to be part of our mentee mentor program. Thank you again, and hope you will find that map and match to your career with your personality traits and strengths. Wishing you the best. Thank you.
You have just listened to various personalities and their effect on our career by Roopa Sunku, Chief Evangelist at TALRadio Help. Log in to touchalife.org to know more about the career-enhancing initiatives by Touch a Life. You can also access our previous episodes on Spotify and touchalife.org. Stay tuned to TALRadio for many more interesting programs.